Everybody deals with some sort of anxiety. Anxiety is our body's natural alarm system. I was my first patient, so I struggled with my own mental health issues. God is the reason why I'm here today. But God also blessed the world with us as well to be able to help. I hit the ground running, so I went to the black church. A lot of black churches ain't wanted me in their church.
A lot of people don't know about their trauma. Like, it's a part of their lives now. So when they get into a relationship, they just being themselves. They're not saying, okay, these are my problems.
So I see a lot of professional women from different careers, different walks of life. I see single women and I see married women. I see married women that maybe didn't start off as successful, but throughout their marriage, they became successful. You still want to make sure that that man is in a position to be able to lead and be a provider.
How would you get to that point? Because you got to think a relationship is y'all supposed to be together, a team.
The one thing that happens is when you get married, you're unified. So there's a unit so that women could hear the men and vice versa. I think that we'll get somewhere with that.
Tell us that something. This that money talk. No, we do it for the culture. Welcome to the green room. It's time to invest and get your business right. Tune in, we gon' get you right. Talking wealth in that green room. I think it's time you live your life. I think it's time you get it right. Now you tuned in to the green room. What are you waiting for? This shit for the culture. Now you tuned in to the green room.
Welcome to the green room, episode number 3. So I've been thinking for a while that with our community and our culture, there's a lot of us that have a lot of mental issues, a lot of mental problems that we deal with, even myself. And I always wonder, why don't we talk about it? Why don't we try to fix it? Why don't we make attempts to go out into the community and find the necessary people? So what I did was found the right person, one of the best therapists in Savannah, Georgia. Yes. Miss Seketa Nelson of
Seketa being Nelson Incorporated.
Right.
Formerly Nelson's Counseling.
Thank you for joining us today. We
Thank
appreciate
you for having me.
Yes. All right, let's get right into it because I don't want to waste no time. I want to get right to what the people want to know.
Straight to it.
Okay, so the first thing is, what steps did you take to becoming a therapist? What made you want to become a therapist? Because in our community, like I grew up with a lot of different people and nobody never wanted to be a therapist. You never heard that coming up. So what made you say, this is what I'm going to do?
So I'm going to give you my honest, I'm going to be very transparent and honest with you, right? So I went to Payne College in 99. So I graduated from Johnson in 1998.
Okay.
Didn't really know if I wanted to go to college. But I had friends that were pushers. So I had this one friend that kind of pushed me when she went and I followed in her footsteps.
Okay.
So I started January 99, going to college, and I just did a basic degree psychology. So I ended up getting my BA in psychology from Payne in May of 2003. I worked for a little bit, had a baby. And then someone told me about a new program at Savannah through South University called, which was the Clinical Professional Counseling Program.
Okay.
So I was the second class to graduate from South University with a degree in a master's degree in professional counseling.
Okay.
The reason why I wanted to be a therapist is because I'm an empath. So I always wanted to help people. Whether it's friends, whether it's family members, people in the community. Even if it was having $20 left in my pocket, I'm giving it to somebody that ideally I thought was homeless that probably wasn't.
This who you always were.
I've always been that person, a natural giver.
Okay.
So a coworker of mine said, you should look into doing this program because at that time I was working for a foster care agency. So she said you should look into the program. So I went to South and I got my master's in professional counseling, and it took off from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you know we would have this problem as a community as far as our people the world is in a mental health. I know a lot of people probably dealing with mental health, but basically our community, our people you know, people you're familiar with, having a lot of mental issues that would need your help, or is it something that you just like, I'm going to do this and I'm just see how it goes?
I was my first patient. So I struggled with my own mental health issues in childhood and in college. But the resources that we have readily available now for people of color, they weren't as readily available during that time.
Right.
So the field of mental health, especially being a therapist or a psychologist, was a white male-dominated field. So it was very unheard of for a Black female to be a therapist.
Right.
So that's one thing. But I was my first patient. Once I recognized that I had my own issues and I really didn't have anybody to talk to, of course you could talk to your family, but they're gonna tell you what you want to hear. A therapist ain't gonna do that. So we non-biased. So we gonna meet you where you are. And we're gonna talk about those issues. You could tell me, I tell my clients, you tell me the sky pink, I know the sky blue, we're gonna go outside and try to figure it out.
Okay.
I tell my mama, girl, that sky is blue, it ain't pink, right? So not trying to figure out why you think it's that way. Once I started realizing that, and then when I interned, when I was in undergrad, I interned through DFACS and, seeing a lot of programs that they were providing for mothers and children, but without a sustainability plan. So we giving y'all all of these services, we giving you this money, but there is no plan to sustain whatever we're giving you.
To keep it going.
Yeah. And then when I'm talking to them, they're struggling with underlying mental health issues. They got trauma, they got depression, they got anxiety, but nobody is addressing those needs.
They don't even know they have it.
They don't even know they have it.
Yeah.
So even when you're talking to them, like, I read about this, I studied this, something ain't right, like you need to get help. So from that point forward, when I started in the field of mental health, so I've been in it for 25 years.
Wow.
Because I started right during undergrad. I've worked in every entity of social services. Wow. I've done probation. I've done foster care. I've contracted with DFACS. I've done a lot. Anger management. I've worked at Savannah State as a counselor.
Oh, I can't wait to ask you these questions.
Yeah. So I've been in it for a very long time, right? So when I started my business, so once I got licensed in February of 2017, and even before then, I hit the ground running. So I went to the Black church. A lot of Black churches ain't wanted me in their church.
What made you take that route?
Because of the stigma that was associated with mental health in the African-American community.
Yeah.
And I know that the Black church is a community leader. So if I go to these pastors and these deacons and they allow me to come in and we talk about mental health, awareness within the community, because again, you got God for your spirituality. You got a pastor that feeds that and educates you for that.
That's what I always thought too.
Right. Yeah. But you got your doctor when you're not feeling good that helps you with your physical health.
Right.
But we weren't addressing the mental health issue.
Right. That makes sense.
So going to the church and being able to talk about some of the things that African Americans were experiencing, but there wasn't no name to it, right? So when we have individuals that got schizophrenia, so you see, hear things, feel things that other people can't see, feel, or hear, you got a demon in you. Let's pray it out of you.
That's what the church say.
That's what the church say, right? So let's cast these demon out. There ain't no demon. That's a disease. So we need to get to the root end of the problem. So being able to go there and communicate. Then I was seeing clients when I was working for the college, young kids that were having suicidal thoughts. And those thoughts were getting strong to the point where they had intent and plan to take their life. But they were so connected to their church. The church would tell them, that's a demon. We need to pray it out of you. God got you.
Nothing changes.
Right? Nothing changes. So they're steady going to this church. They're praying. And don't get me wrong, because I grew up Southern Baptist. I pray all the time. God is the reason why I'm here today. But God also blessed the world with us as well to be able to help, right? So being able to communicate it from that standpoint as well, of being able to say, you depressed. That's why you suicidal. Yeah, we could use prayer as your coping skill, but let's talk about some of these things that's triggering you and let me be able to help you to identify other ways to cope. Or I'm not a medication pusher, so therapists don't prescribe medications, but I do refer to psychiatrists. Most of the time, if it's not necessarily clinical depression, I can help you by identifying coping strategies, maybe even just communicating with some of the things that you're experiencing to help you to be able to manage your symptoms. But in some cases, medication is needed. Okay. So that's the reason why I went to the church, because I figured if I could communicate with them and they could help me to be able to push, getting individuals help beyond the church, then I would be able to spread awareness within my community.
Let me ask you this question. What kind of resistance or do you see without people with getting mental health, like help?
The association of being crazy.
Yeah. So
they feel like if I go to therapy that I'm crazy. My motto is crazy people don't get help, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So once you identify that something isn't right, then I'm going to go and talk to somebody about it. Another thing is Black people, we talk, right? We nosy. We talk a lot. Yeah. So if I go and see you and I know that Charles, your cousin, and I got a connection with Charles,
you're
gonna tell Charles all my
That's how
business.
they feel. But it's a patient.
It's confidentiality,
right? Yeah.
And that's my licensure, and I ain't about to risk that for nobody, right?
Yeah.
So if I breach confidentiality, that's not being a therapist. Isn't my job. I can go get a job at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
Being a therapist is my career, and I'm not gonna risk that for anyone. So don't get me wrong, you do have individuals that breach confidentiality and they don't care because they don't see the repercussions behind it.
Right.
But I'm scary.
Right.
So I'm not going to do that.
Just the thought of caring about somebody and not putting their personal life out there. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's okay. So this question is a little bit different, but do you feel that the problems that we might have, that the color of the therapist might matter? Like being open to go to a white therapist, or do you feel like we could understand each other's problems more? Like you being the type of therapist you are, coming from where you from?
Most definitely. So there's this big push that African Americans or Black people want to see Black therapists because they feel that we can relate to them.
Mm-hmm.
Depression looks different for a Black person than it does somebody from a different, ethnicity or from the majority.
Mm-hmm.
ADHD looks different for African Americans than it does for the majority.
Right.
Anxiety looks different for African Americans than it does the majority.
Right.
So when I have, for example, if I have a African American that presents to me and they are highly involved within their spirituality, not necessarily religion, but spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
So because I'm educated on the use of crystals and I'm educated on spirits and stuff like that,
mm-hmm.
I'm not going to look at it and automatically assume that this person suffers from, psychosis or they have schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get background. Whereas they may go see a therapist of another color. And I've seen this happen before, even working alongside other white therapists
mm-hmm.
that will assume that this is, the onset of psychosis. And then I say, let's take a step back and let's listen to what they have going on. And then you're educating your white counterparts of this is what this means within my culture.
Right.
It's not schizophrenia. It's not psychosis. This is their beliefs.
You can be misdiagnosed even in therapy. You can go to the wrong person.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's why we got to carry $1 million worth of insurance.
Okay.
Professional liability insurance, because people are misdiagnosed on a regular basis. We're human.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big thing because you would think that it would be like going to another type of therapist would be the better the therapist to go to, like the white is right type of situation. Thinking that that's the right place to go just because, and not trusting our people to diagnose you yourself. So
most of the time.
Okay. So I like to consider myself a good friend to my friends
mm-hmm.
and try to be there when they need me and
mm-hmm.
be there through all their problems and stuff like that. But do you believe that people take on too much of their friends or family problems as their own and allows it to affect their lives, or do you believe that friends should take on their friends' problem? What do you think about that?
So I give this analogy to my clients when they come in. So imagine you travel, right?
Yeah.
You never been on an airplane?
Yeah.
So imagine going to an airport, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got your check bag and you got your carry-on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you going with you and 5 of your homeboys.
Mm-hmm.
Your homeboys checked all their bags and you the only one with a carry-on, but they got all this loose luggage that they need you to put in your carry-on.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen by the time you get to that terminal?
It's going to be overweight. It's going to weigh
too much.
It's going to weigh too much.
So now what you're doing is you're taking on the problems of other people and it's hard to disconnect. So their problems now become yours in some way. Mm-hmm. So for example, if you're dealing with a homeboy that's having relationship issues and you talking to them through their relationship issues, you're in a relationship yourself. Now you going home and you looking at your wife or your significant other like, Aaron, I wonder if she's doing the same thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now those problems. So now you're dealing with projection. So now you got projection from taking on the problems of other people.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be there for your friends, right? So even with me being a therapist, I deal with stuff on a daily basis. My family don't call me about any other issues because I don't have the mental capacity to take it on.
Okay.
I'm dealing with a lot myself and I have to be able to give that to my clients.
Right.
So when I'm at home with my husband and my kids, when I'm with my extended family, I just want to be myself. Like I want to lay back. I don't want to talk about anything too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to, I will. I know how to deal with it,
mm-hmm.
but I have to separate from being Seketa, the therapist, to Seketa, the mom or the wife or whatever it may be.
That gotta be a lot.
It is a lot. So you're dealing with projection. So what I tell my clients all the time, and I did a video about this, sharing isn't always caring. So friends should be able to ask permission. And in the process of you asking permission, you need to tell the other friend that you're relaying whatever it is communicating about to them. What do you want them to do with this information? Are you just calling me, you talking because you want to vent? Or you want some information from me? You want me to be able to respond? And if I respond, are you going to be receptive to it? Right?
Stuff. That's right.
Sharing ain't always caring.
Yeah.
Give you the opportunity to say, you know what? I got the mental capacity to take it on. Right. You know what? Right now ain't a good time. I'm dealing with my own stuff. So I can't take it on. And be okay with that.
That's good. That's good.
Because that's a lot.
Yeah. So with that being said, how do you separate it yourself from your work, from your family, from your own personal? How do you find a way to separate that?
So my husband is very direct and blunt. I got a potty mouth, so I'm gonna use it. He'll tell me to bring that shit in this household. like I get it. Yeah. Find a way for you to be able to separate it, but do not let it affect what we got going on.
But you understand that?
I understand that.
You understand that? Okay.
So typically, like if I'm having a rough day, I try to communicate that before I step foot across my threshold. Because when I step foot across my threshold, I'm mama, I'm wife, right? So I have to be the caretaker in my home. I can't bring the therapist in that household. So if I'm having a rough day, and of course not divulging any details about sessions to my husband, but just communicating, about the comings and goings of my day and why I'm having a difficult time, and him being able to listen and support me. But once I step foot over my threshold of my house,
it becomes about family.
It becomes about my family. So I got to be in tune with them. I got to separate, from being a therapist, so I don't let it affect my household. And I had to learn that because it has affected my family life because I was bringing it home. Like it would destroy your whole family.
Yeah, I can see that how it was. Okay, so I know men often ask you this question because I like to think that women are for women all the time. I just believe that. I think men are for women and women are for women. I don't think men have nobody that's there for them, give or take the type of women that are like that. I'm just talking about a majority thing.
Okay.
So do you tend to take a woman's side if it's a man and woman relationship because you feel sympathy for a woman, like relate to women because you are a woman? Do you feel sympathy for a woman more than you do a man?
Absolutely not. So
I figured that. I just had to ask the question.
I'm non-judgmental. So when you and that's the reason why, like if I'm seeing a client for individual, and let's say that client, male or female, want to do couples therapy, I'm not going to cross those lines. I'm going to refer you to another therapist in my office or therapist outside of my office, because me going from individual therapy to couples therapy now makes me a biased opinion, right? And I'm supposed to always remain non-biased. Now, there may be some chances where I may bring a husband or a wife in for support, not necessarily for couples therapy, but to support whatever this wife or this husband is going through. How could you be supportive for them, right? But when it comes to marriage counseling, I'm completely separate. So when I'm taking marriage counseling clients, I haven't touched them as individuals, if that makes sense.
Okay, so they come as couples, or either they go and find someone else.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, I have a referral base that I refer them to.
Okay.
But that way I'm going and I'm just listening to your presenting problems as a couple, and I'm not taking sides when it comes to that. And most of the time, I won't say most of the time, but I do not take the side of the woman. No, in a lot of circumstances, I don't.
Okay.
I take the side on what I feel is right.
Who's usually the problem? And when just a statistical thing, do men usually have a lot of problems, or is it usually even, like based on the relationship that you counsel? So
I'm going to say this, and this may make some people mad, right? Majority of my practice, about 90% of my practice, I see African Americans. Okay. Now I do see other races as well and other ethnicities, but for the most part, 90% is African American.
Okay.
I do, in about 4% of my practice they're males, right? Okay. So I've had, and I enjoy working with African American men. Now I will tell you, the underlying source for a lot of my Black men that come in therapy, please, ladies, don't be mad at me, but I just have to be honest. It stems from a woman. It's either a mama, it's either a grandmother, and it filters into relationship.
Okay.
So even if I'm working with marriage counseling, right? And if there's a problem within the marriage, and once I get the background story of everything that's going on, there's a precursor. It started somewhere, and it started before the relationship.
Okay.
And now it's sometimes like, that's why I always say set roles and responsibilities before you get married, so that you can know exactly what you're going into. Not necessarily saying in gender roles, but there has to be like, what do you expect out of me as a husband? What do you expect out of me as a wife? And understanding that as you grow and evolve, those expectations are going to change, but you got to check in with each other. But know who you're marrying before you marry them. And then and if you know that you have issues that you haven't dealt with, you need to communicate that to your significant other, because at that point, you ain't giving them no choice.
Right.
Give me a choice and let me know what I'm walking into before I walk into it.
But a lot of people don't know about their trauma like that. It's a part of their lives now. So when they get into a relationship, they just being themselves. They're not saying, okay, these are my problems.
But most
people have to figure out their problem. Somebody else is usually pointing your problems out.
Yeah, you see it. There are signs. So you definitely see it. But when you come to therapy, you identify it as not necessarily a trauma, because we do use that term a little bit too loosely.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just projection, right? Okay. So what I'm seeing with African American men when they come into therapy, you got two different. So if I got a Black male that was raised by a single Black female, you got two different things that's going to take place. Either they're coddling them to not have the roles and responsibility to be a real man, or looking for another female to be their mama and take care of them. Or either you got the man that was pushed to be a man before he even had an opportunity to identify developmentally as a man. So you are the man of the house, and you're responsible for making sure that everything runs smoothly. A child, that is what we call emotional incest. So that's when the relationship between a mother and a son cross those boundaries. It borderlines emotional incest. That means that you are looking at your son to be your man. And that's hard, because now when they grow up, their full responsibility is going to be to you, and there's going to be emotional disconnect. So that's when we start talking about men not being in control or being connected to their emotions. They disconnect from them because they never had an opportunity to sit in them.
Wow.
As a child. And that's a lot of times that's what I see.
That's deep. So with that being said, should people, because what do you think about the dating process? Do you think people should get to know each other and then go into counseling with that? Should they add that with that while they getting to know people, or should they wait way down the line and waste a lot of time?
So it depends on what you define dating, because the way that I look at dating, somebody else may think that it's being a thought.
Yeah.
So dating for me, if you're dating you're dating multiple people. Dating doesn't mean that I'm dating Charles.
Okay, when you get in a relationship, that's what I mean.
Okay,
not dating.
So when
you deciding to say, I'm going to be with you, we're going to decide to take this next step to get to know each other more. Should counseling be in that part, or because most counseling comes when marriage comes, right?
Premarital.
But it should be probably way before that, maybe.
It can be. So if you start to identify that this is somebody that you can see yourself spending the rest of your life with, even if the marriage hasn't been on the table yet, maybe saying, hey, how do you feel about going to therapy, just to make sure that we're on the same path.
Okay.
It doesn't happen that often, but it should happen. And most insurances would pay for supportive therapy. I don't take insurance for marriage counseling because it's hard to get it to bill for that, but I try to phrase it as support to make sure that the insurance, because it can be expensive. Therapy can be expensive. But I do think that if you are in a relationship and you're taking each other seriously, it doesn't hurt to have that conversation with the therapist.
Right.
It doesn't hurt.
Let me ask you this question. Have you ever too tied up into your work and actually brought it home, or it got out of control, or you didn't know how to handle it? Like, had that ever happened, and how did you resolve it and get past it?
So when I first started out, I said that I'm an empath, right? So when I worked at Savannah State as a counselor, that's when things got a little out of hand for me, because every student that I was coming in contact with that needed help, I was using my paycheck, and I wasn't making that much money back then. I was using my paycheck buying groceries, taking them. I was doing a lot.
For the students?
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah, it was.
That's the good part, but that's
the good part. So during that time, I had just gotten married too.
Mhm.
So even though I had been with my husband for a while, but that was during the honeymoon phase of our marriage. So he looking at me like,
You taking money out of our house.
what you doing? You buying groceries? You ain't, you taking money out of, our kids' mouth and money out of our house. Don't do that. So it caused a lot of stress within my marriage. So I had to back off on it. And it was just me and him going, I'm like, I got to help. Like, this is what God placed on my heart. He told me to do this. And he was like, you got to be able to decipher to who's talking to you, because that ain't God speaking to you, telling you to give, to these students. You got to know when you're being manipulated. And a lot of it was manipulation. So it's good that I have a strong partner, because sometimes I could see the bird could fly across my face and I don't see it. And he'd be like,
now you're a very strong woman as far as information, knowledge, and just a well-rounded woman. How do you humble yourself to listen to your husband? Because a lot of women that have the quality that you have, they become more masculine. And just because they know a lot and they can do a lot within the community. So how do you stay humble to be the type of wife? And how important do you think that is for a woman?
It's very important to a woman, because the one thing that I try to make sure that I practice is that I never emasculate my husband. I never take the role, regardless of where I am financially or where he is financially. The amount of degrees I got, the amount of certifications that I got, I'm never going to take that role away from him. He's always going to be a man. He's always going to lead. He's always going to provide. And I want to make sure that I reassure him of that. But I am human, so I have my flaws.
Right, of course.
But sometimes I have to think before I say something. And then I also have to, make sure I understand who I'm dealing with, because my husband don't play that. Like even if you ain't humble, he is going to humble you, and he's going to tell you, I don't care nothing about your degrees, how much money you make, but you in this house, everybody gonna get in say. So sometimes it's not being impulsive when I communicate, being able to take a step back. Sometimes I slip up.
We all
right?
human.
Sometimes I'm human, so sometimes I slip up, and he'd be like, okay, let's talk about this and what's going on and why you feel this way. So we just have, communication is the driving force for any relationship. So we communicate effectively through those things. Sometimes the communication is a discord in there, but I have to take a step back, be able to process, and then come back to it.
Good, that's good. So with the amount of successful women we have in this world, like a lot, we have lots of successful women, but they're all single. What advice do you have for them, and why do you think they are still single and not in relationship?
So I know when I used to host cocktails and conversations, that was one of the questions that would come up, because we would do anonymous questions. And the one thing that I do see with a lot of successful women is we lead with our qualifications when we're going into a dating relationship. So we make sure that we let this man know, I got a good job, I got all these degrees, I make this amount of money, I got my own house, I got my own car, I pay all my bills.
Which men don't really care about.
They don't care about that.
Not a man's man, really not going to care about, right?
So one thing I asked them, if you already giving him all this information, like, how does he make space in your life? Because you're taking his role and his responsibility away from him. Because a real man is going to naturally lead. But if you're coming in and you're giving him all of this stuff, telling him about your qualifications, then they pulling back. You don't need me.
So should they get to know what that man wants, or what any man wants for that matter?
Yeah, so I see a lot of professional women from different careers, different walks of life. And I see single women and I see married women. I see married women that maybe didn't start off as successful, but throughout their marriage, they became successful. One of the conversations that we do have is when you do start to date, when you do start to gain, additional qualifications, you still want to make sure that that man is in a position to be able to lead and be a provider, right? So, and especially my females that are dating, what I tell them is like, yeah, celebrate yourself. Be happy with where you are within your career. But sometimes giving off too much of that too early on, it can be something that could pull a man back from you because they're trying to figure out how can they fit. So you want to make sure that you reassure me, even though I got all of this, I still need a helpmate. I still need somebody that's going to be there for me.
So what if a man meets a woman with all these different qualifications, but he kind of wants her to be a wife? Like, I want you, I love the person that you are. I really don't care about those things. Is it wrong for him to want her to kind of slow down in those things and become a wife? Is that wrong, being that he met her doing all of those things? Or should she be looking to be a wife and kind of slow down in what she's doing.
What makes you think that she can't be a wife even though she has those credentials?
Well, it's a lot. It's just a lot to life. It's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Some people can't take on those things and being there for their man as well. Some people can, I guess.
It just depends. So I think that's a conversation. Like if you feel like, and I would say even for me personally, if I start to, throw myself in a lot of events, that's a conversation. Like I talk to my husband before I make Eastern Asian moves, right? To let them know, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. This is the reason why I want to do it. It could be an additional stream of income. And I have to pretty much sell it to him, how it could benefit us as a family. And sometimes he'd be like, you got too much going on already. I already see you getting irritated. I see your anxiety increasing. You probably want to hold off on that for right now. And so we have conversations about it. So we have not asking permission, but we communicate about it. And he'll tell me his suggestions. And I take heed and I listen to him.
See, I think that's the problem. A lot of people, they kind of like, if they want to do something, like, I don't see why I shouldn't be able to do it because this is something that I've been doing, and they don't consult with the person. Or even if they do, they don't get the answer that they want. They still like, well, that's not fair to me. So,
and I butt my head a lot of times with that. Like, even though we had this conversation, and I still be like, man, he don't know what he's talking about because he not attached to. And then I butt my head, and now I have to sit up here and try to figure out how I'm gonna tell him that I went against the grain, what you told me to do, and I did my own thing, and he just looking at me like, I ain't got nothing for you because I gave it to you beforehand, and because you didn't listen, figure it out.
So now, with that being said, what do you think about men in the same thing? Using their success and not making room for women to fit into their lives as well, and why so many men are single and not being in a relationship? Are they looking for the wrong things? Are they leading with their money as well?
So I would tell you that when I am seeing some of the men that I have seen in therapy, the caliber of woman out here is what they say to me. Is women want instant gratification, right? They want drug dealers. They want fast money. So when you are approaching a woman, and I'm not saying all women, but when you're approaching them and you're talking about what you do for a living, it sounds pretty good, but they need to be able to see an instant return on an investment. They're not willing to wait it out. Or sometimes there is jealousy or envy within a relationship.
Within a relationship,
yeah,
wow.
They kind of pushes them, that distance them or push them away, and that's on both ends of the spectrum. You got men that become jealous of their wives, and you got men that become jealous of the individuals that they're in a relationship with, and vice versa.
How would you get to that point? Because you got to think a relationship is, y'all supposed to be together, a team. So I know every situation is different. There probably people come to that point different ways, but what do you do from that, and how do you get past something like that when you become at that stage?
So communication is the driving force for any relationship. Also, the way that you have things set up. So if I'm making 6 figures, right? But our accounts are separate, and you don't see that, but you see me coming home and I'm bringing all of these things home, these elaborate outfit bags or whatever. Being able to have a conversation about things that you're purchasing, making sure that they feel comfortable. Just even if you make more money than a man, making sure that they feel included in the relationship. The one thing that happens is when you get married, you're unified. So there's a unit. We get away from the unit. So once we start to elevate, we start to think more singularly as opposed to plural, right? So even though you're advancing in your career, you always want to go back to the core because it started here. So when you grow together. You don't grow apart.
Now, social media has a lot of information on it, a lot of videos, a lot of topics and all that stuff, and a lot of opinionated people. Do you think it's a lot of misinformation on social media? And do you think people go there to open their lives up too much to people? And what should we do about fixing that so we could stop depending on social media for our help and for fixing our relationship?
So social media has been a huge marketing source for me as a therapist. The problem that I have with social media is, and I'm trying to think of the nicest way to be able to put this. So you have the micro therapists that are coming up. So people that's giving advice that they don't have any clinical background.
Okay.
So just to give you, I told you about my college, journey.
Right. Yep.
It takes 4 years to get an undergraduate degree. it takes about 2.5 years to get a graduate degree.
But that's 6. Oh, that's included in the 4. That's 6 years
6.
now. Okay.
So now we at 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it could be depending on what track you're going to take.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for a therapist, not any other degree, right? So when I got licensed, right? So you have to do your internship, which is about a year worth of internship. So that's, but we can include that into the 6.
Okay.
And then you have to do, during that time, I had to do 3 years of clinical supervision.
After the 6?
Yep. 3 years before I can get licensed. Pass a clinical licensure exam in order to have that certification, right? So a therapist go to school for about the same amount of time as a PA or an attorney. Mm-hmm. So when I start seeing people give misinformation about depression and anxiety, and then they are influencers on social media because, people follow what's popular. Mm-hmm. So if you're popular, if you said it, then it has to be right. And most of the time, the information is completely incorrect.
That's right.
So when we have social media that's serving as a microtherapist for these individuals, then they go with that, which draws them away from the help that they really need.
Right.
And I have a problem with that as a therapist.
As you should, because you know the answers and you know what could really help people. So
right, and even if I don't, because I'm not I have my specialties, but some things I don't feel comfortable treating.
Okay.
I don't work with sex offenders because that's just not a comfort level for me because I have children. Mm-hmm. I don't, even though I know about schizophrenia and psychosis, that's just not something that I feel comfortable with. So I refer it out.
Okay.
When it comes to certain type of psychological testing, I'm not a psychologist. So autism, I can't diagnose your child with autism. They have to go to a psychologist for that. We know when to refer. If it's something that I'm not comfortable with or something that I don't know, I'm not going to sit up here and say, let me research it and try to figure it out for you. Mm-hmm. I'm doing you a disservice. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of, these popular people on social media that don't have the clinical background, that's giving false information or misinforming these individuals are doing them a huge disservice. Mm-hmm. That's just my take on it.
Okay. So how do you, you told me how you separate your personal life. How do you, dealing with your family and being a therapist at the same time? Do you find yourself, and a parent, do you find yourself over analytical, or do you have to allow grace to your family, being that because you could probably look at a lot of situations and analyze them quickly.
Yeah.
But then you have to allow your child to be a kid at the age that they are without analyzing it to make it this perfect situation that it could be. How do you handle a situation like that?
So both of my girls are in therapy.
Excuse me.
So my kids go to therapy.
Okay.
So my son has been in therapy before. He's seen a psychologist.
Not with you?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
So I can't, it would be a conflict of interest for me to, do therapy with them. And sometimes even if I'm having a conversation with my oldest, and it borderlines from mama to therapist, she'll stop me and tell me, I don't need you for that. I need you to be my mama right now. Okay. So she has her own therapist that she goes to. And my baby girl, she dead spot on it. She'll tell me, Mom, I'm not one of your clients. So, and I have to separate from that as well. So they remind me that I'm their mama. Mm-hmm. But both of my girls are in therapy and my son has been in therapy before.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
So they have their own therapist that they talk to. I don't want to know what y'all talk about in therapy. That's their opportunity to be able to express themselves and release whatever it is that they need to release.
I know you got patient-client confidentiality. Can you explain a situation that that might have got out of hand, or a situation that you might have wished that you could have helped more, but you didn't, and they're not together? Because I know you want everybody to stay together. As far as relationship health. Without saying the person name, of course, but just the situation.
I'm trying to think. Do I have any situations where things have gotten out of hand and you want them to stay together? Now, I will tell you, Savannah is very small. Mm-hmm. And I see clients from different walks of life. And sometimes I have to schedule them clients days off because I have counseled individuals that I know are in relationships with each other. Mm-hmm. And I not counsel the side dude or the side chick.
Wow.
And because I'm on social media and I know these things, I just make sure I don't say nothing. I just, of course I can't say anything. Anyway, right? I can't say anything.
Right.
But,
How would you apply that to counseling? Do you can't even bring that into the counseling?
I just said like I don't know nothing.
Right.
So when they talking and they talking about this one individual, I'm just tuning whatever I heard in a different session out. But then I just make sure that like when I'm scheduling, I don't schedule them on the same day or the same week. Or if it gets to be a bit too much for me, then I refer out to somebody else.
Okay.
So, but if I get too deep into a counseling session, like if I've not been seeing a client for a year and we already got an established relationship, and then I've seen this other client for 6 months and we have an established relationship, it can be kind of hard.
Right.
So I just you have to know when to refer out because that happens.
Yeah. So now tell me about a situation that, okay, a couple might have came to you and it was a bad situation when they came. They were trying to figure it out and they had a lot of trauma between each other, but they ended up in a good place and everything ended up better for them.
So I've had a lot of those. So one in particular, I was working with them, and I won't give any details about the situation, but I was working with them, and I don't think we had a long-lasting relationship because they came up with their identified problems. They were honest about what they were going through. We worked through their problems. Everybody was able to take accountability, and then now they're happy and they're flourishing. When it came time for their, I think it was 10-year anniversary, they had already been discharged from me for about a year, and they asked me if I could officiate their anniversary. They wanted to renew their vows, but I'm not an officiate. But so you have situations like that.
That's what's up. So how important is it for you to tell someone that loving what you do is important, just as much as important as money or financial gain? Because seeing a couple that you counsel go on to live a happy life, that got to be fulfilling in its own kind of way. So how important, when people are trying to find something that they love to do, how important is that to you, like loving what you do in comparison to the money part of it?
So therapy is not a money-driven field. Yes, we make good money, but I would never be able to make the amount of money that based on the work that I push out there. You could never pay me enough for everything that I do.
Different emotions.
Right. But my reward, because I'm passionate about what I do, sometimes I get people that want to become therapists because they see a number sign. And the first thing I tell them, it's a lot, they're going because, again, you taking on different personalities, you taking on different spirits, you taking on different issues, and you have to figure out how to be able to release that on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, from one client to the next, to make sure that you're not transferring anything on to the next client.
Okay.
So I'm passionate behind what I do. I have a lot of compassion for therapy. I want to be able to help other people, if they do want to gravitate towards the field, but I'll make sure I let them know there is no dollar sign associated with the amount of work that you're going to be pouring into the individuals.
Okay.
So I've seen a lot of clients because I'm licensed in multiple states. So I'm licensed in Georgia, Florida, and then I also see clients that I have seen clients in the UK. So of course, dealing with clients from Atlanta, sometimes I don't know who they are until I get, deep into it. But I have had high profile clients in Savannah and Atlanta. And the one thing about me, like you've got some people, like I've been to hairstylists, or I've been, received services from individuals and they charge you based on how much money they think you have. So when I'm seeing high profile clients, even though I know they got good money, my price is my price. The only reason, so you're going to pay the same amount that anybody else, any regular person.
That's not fair. Right. The price is not based on the person.
The price
based on the service.
Based on the service. The only time now, if I have to make accommodations, now there has been a time where I had to make accommodations for my office where the individuals didn't want anybody else in there with them. None of my staff could be in there with them. So if my staff was losing money in the process of that, then we may have to talk about additional compensation. But I typically just do a workaround where I just make sure you're the last client of the day and everybody else is gone. But that's how I know I'm passionate about it, because I could charge whatever I want to charge, especially for cash pay, but I just don't do that. Because if you're coming to me, and I would say over the last 2 years, I've done about $45,000 worth of free counseling for clients.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's just my give back.
What is that? What do you base that on?
So clients that may have their insurance have lapsed and they no longer have services, have insurance to pay for services, are clients that I know really need the help and they don't have insurance and they don't have the income, I'll just take them on pro bono. Okay. So I won't charge them anything.
Oh, that's good. You're a human being and you have your own problems, your own emotions, your own day-to-day like mental struggles that you deal with. You might have answered this, but specifically, how do you deal with your problems aside from not the house, just Seketa's problems? How do you deal with your problems?
I got my therapist on speed dial.
Oh, you got a therapist?
I sure do.
Oh, that's good to know. A therapist got a therapist.
Every good therapist has a good therapist.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That makes sense.
Yeah, if I need to go and talk to somebody, even though I have family and, you know, I have my husband, I just don't want to burden them with some of the things that they may not understand. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I need to go to therapy, I'll go to therapy.
So do you suggest therapy for everybody in in the family? And if so, when should a child start taking therapy?
So therapy should not be a reactive. It should be a proactive. So you don't have to have a problem to go and talk to someone. I think everybody needs to go to therapy.
Before they have a problem, right?
Yeah, you want to make so you can have those skills and strategies readily available for when things happen. Everybody deals with some sort of anxiety, not necessarily a diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder, but anxiety is our body's natural alarm system. It tells us when things aren't going right. Mm-hmm. For people that suffer with anxiety, that alarm system is constantly going off and they can't shut it off. Mm-hmm. So before things build up to the point where you can't get a hold of it, you want to make sure that you're in therapy so that you can learn those skills and strategies to say, you know what, I know I'm anxious, but this anxiety has heightened to the point where I can't get out of it. Mm-hmm. But I remember when I did go to therapy, when nothing was going on, this lady told me that this is what I should do.
How to cope with it, how to deal with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not just take it as like, okay, this is overtaken. Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges you face as running a counseling practice? Like, what are some of your things that's really challenging to you?
So finances is a big one. So there's a lot of overhead because I'm in private practice. I have staff that I have to pay. So I do have 3 therapists that works under me. Mm-hmm. I have to pay rent for my office. I have to pay, different, electricity than we have. Well, electricity bill, utilities. Mm-hmm. And then we have systems that we use as well. So that costs money also. When I have clients that don't show up for their session and I've already allocated for that money within my budget, then I lose. So I do have a late cancellation or no-show policy, whereas if you don't cancel or you don't show, then it's a $75 fee. Sometimes I get clients that put dummy cards, within the system. So when I go in and charge the late cancellation or no, I can't, retrieve my money. Mm-hmm. And if I'm seeing a client that's Medicaid, you can't charge no-show fees for Medicaid, so you just lose out. So to give you a little bit more, context into that, last year I lost $85,000.
That's the annual, like between all the different losses throughout the year. Wow.
I lost $85,000.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
So do you go back and figure out where those losses came? And
I already know because the system that we have just shows like the no-shows, like the clients that don't show up, clients that have had therapy sessions, and then they go back and they lock their cards. So now you can't retrieve your money from them. That happens a lot as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Back to the men and women, because I really want to try to help fix the men and women thing that's going on with the hating each other and pushing out men don't need women, women don't need men. What do you suggest to us that we should do to get us to start working together to get again as men and women, so we could just rebuild our community?
So I think it has to go from a larger scale or a larger aspect. So like I told you, I did the cocktails and conversations. So that generates the conversation between women, single and married women. So you get in perspectives. Single women are getting educated by married women getting educated. So it's mostly females that come and they talk about their different experiences in relationship. We talk about everything. So there's no bars in there. So we got married woman, we got engaged woman, we got single woman. So married woman hear from single woman about how they mess with other women, husbands, or our partners or whatever. And then married women are always also talking about the beauties and then also the struggles that you have in a marriage as well. That brings everything to perspective. And then we pick up where we left off. I haven't done it in a while. I tried to do a panel on called He Said, She Said, where I would get men and women together and then have a panel of married couples, single individuals, and then also working within my LGBTQI plus community. Because I want them to have a voice as well. But I didn't get a good response for that. But if we have more conversations on a larger scale so that women could hear the men and vice versa, I think that we'll get somewhere with that. Because even when I talk about cocktails and conversation, sometimes the men will say, well, I don't think it's fair for y'all to have a conversation and we can't defend ourselves. We need to be there.
Right.
But when I put it on,
men don't.
Nobody, I get a lot of women, but the men don't want to come.
Yeah, men, we don't talk as much as women about our problems. That's what I think where men fail at. We don't communicate what we feel. So how could you fix something that you don't communicate on? You just hold it in. So
I think you got a beautiful platform where it can reach a lot of individuals to be able to come together so that we can have these conversations, and maybe even we could do some matchmaking in that.
Oh yeah,
maybe we could do some matchmaking in that. But I do things with couples. My husband and I hosted a couples retreat a couple years ago, and we ended up with four amazing couple friends. So we're all good friends, and we do things like every 6 months. So we go out of town together, and we do a lot of activities together, and we want to do that on a larger scale as well. But I mean, it's just having a conversation, not afraid to be able to say the things, or speak about the unspoken.
How important do you believe that it is for a couple to be around other couples? Could you be okay just being a couple and being around single friends? Would that weigh on you, or if you understand your place as a couple? Or is it just better for you not to be around people that don't move like you move?
I need to have a mix. So I need to have single friends, and then I need to have married friends, because my single friends are going to teach me things that I may not know, because I have been in a relationship for such a long time. So I need to know what's going on out here. So I think it's okay to have a mix. You just got to know how to handle it. I know how to handle it. But when it starts to get too much, then I separate from it. I don't have a lot of friends though.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought you just had a pretty good people you associate.
I don't have a lot of friends because I'm so loyal in my friendship. Right. And I give a lot to my friends. It's better for me not to have a lot of friends. Because when those friendships kind of disperse, or when we have issues, I take it real hard. And with me, when those friendships kind of disperse, I don't want nothing to do with it no more.
Yeah, me too. I'm like that too. Yeah. I go too hard sometimes.
I count my losses.
Yeah. You just let it go. You don't go back?
No. I don't go back to nothing.
So you don't believe in the forgive and then go back and...
Forgiveness is for me, it ain't for the other person.
You don't have to go back no more?
No.
Yeah, but it takes a lot to get to that decision.
Yeah, I take it, I definitely grieve. So I go through my process of grief, right? So I grieve those friendships, and I battle with it, and I deal with it, myself. My family can see that. But
once you come up with the decision,
it's a done deal. And I could still wish you well.
No hate involved.
No, I'm going to still pray for you. Yeah, I'm going to pray for if I see your kids. Hey, niece, hey, nephew.
Proceed if you can. Thank y'all for watching The Green Room. We really appreciate it. We hope that this episode really helped somebody. If you going through anything, going through any problem, make sure you see this woman right here. You could contact her. Her contact information will be at the end of this video, on the bottom of this video, somewhere on this video. We appreciate y'all. Continue to lock in and watch us change the community, one episode at a time. Thank y'all.